be advised, the opinions and views of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
Magandang gabi Pilipinas, marahin na banggi sa Indogabos, maayong gabi sa Tibok, Mindanao, Visayas, ug sa Luzon. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Ito po ang Republika at ako po si Erik Espina. Katatapos lang po ng SONA ng ating mahal na Pangulong si Presidente Noynoy Aquino III. At tamang-tama po dahil ang ating pong naimbitahan naman ay isang pong batikang politiko. Siya po ay nananahimik, bagamat hindi tahimik sa kanyang pag-iisip at sa kanyang damdamin. Kaya talagang hinanap talaga namin itong ating bisita upang makuha naman natin kung anong mga iniisip niya, kung anong gusto niyang sabihin, at upang maliwanagan naman tayo, iwika nga sa mga nangyayari sa ating lipunan at sa ating bansa. Siya po isang, tulad ng nasabi ko, veteranong politiko, isang dating senador. May kinalaman siya sa ating sektor ng mga manggagawa. Isa pong Boholano. Kinagagalak ko pong ipakilala sa inyo si former Senator Ernesto Boy Herrera.
Good evening, Eric.
Good evening.
Good evening sa ating mga televiewers.
Yan.
I would just like to put a little correction.
Yes, yes.
I am Cebuano, Boholano.
Okay.
My mother is Boholana, my father is Cebuano. I was born in Cebu.
Yeah. Okay, okay. Yan, malinaw po. So therefore, kababayan ko rin pala ito.
Oh, yes.
Yes, yes. Okay, Senador, just to break the ice. Usually, di ba, pag opening ng session, lahat ng mga dating senador, usually inimbitahan no, para maging kasama sa pagbubukas ng isang formal at napaka-importanting okasyon. The other senators lately have not been noticing you attending such kinds of formal openings of the Senate.
Well, this time, hindi ako nag-attend.
Okay.
Because I was in Subic, in the Olongapo. Nagtatrabaho. Mayroon tayong mga members doon. Kailangan ng ating mga services. So I went there. So I was not able to attend this one.
Okay. At kayo ngayon ay nasa TUCP?
Yes, as the Secretary General of the TUCP.
So ito talaga ang advokasya ninyo, no? You're talagang mga manggagawa, no?
Oh, yes.
Ever since?
Ever since since 42 years ago, when I joined the labor movement. I'm one of the founders of the Trade Union Congress of the Philippines.
Sigurado, I am sure na you were watching the SONA of the President, the State of the Nation address. Your random thoughts initially. How did you find the speech of the President?
Well, ang speech of the President, for one, he was speaking in Filipino. That was good. Sapagkat maintindihan ka sa buong bayan. No?
Kahit Bisaya, no?
Kahit Bisaya. Yes.
Okay.
But kami sa labor, normal yun. We would like to know or we expected yung mga specific programs to generate employment. Sapagkat ang problema natin ngayon ay talagang employment. Marami sa ating mga manggagawa ay walang trabaho. Now, we're hoping that klaro ang programa for employment. Now, I would like to believe that there in the budget siguro nandoon yung mga specific programs to generate employment opportunities. Yan naman talaga ang interest, primary interest ng labor. So, before this SONA, we were hoping klaro ang direksyon sa government to generate employment opportunities.
Ito yung sa employment, no? Before we go into the employment area, as former senator, you know, you are able to see the national picture, no? In general, how did you see the speech? You mentioned about language. How about the adoption of the pop culture? There was a sense of masa, no? Sabi ni Presidente, ox.
Yeah.
How do you find that? Is that
Okay
na rin?
Pero okay lang.
Kasi presidente,
okay
no?
lang. Well, presidente
Give
yun.
na yun, give.
No, yes. And as I said, coming back to that particular issue sa employment, yun talaga ang
doon kayo nakatutok talaga.
doon kami nakafocus kung ano yun. No? But overall, nakita rin natin, after all, this is first year,
Okay.
na ang programa niya to do away corruption in the government ay talagang maganda ang dating sa, at least in my case, makita mo ang sincerity to go after. We're just hoping lahat, hindi lang yung mga corrupt in the previous administration, but also the president, lahat. Kailangan yun eh. Sapagkat with that, at least makita natin that klaro ang direksyon to clean up the government. Alam na ba natin na in the previous years, yung corruption, siguro ang nawala natin sa ating mga budget is about 30% because of corruption. At yung 30%, malaking bagay yun para sa labor eh. Because ilan mga manggagawa na deprived ng trabaho because of corruption. So, with that, we are all supporting the president. Ang importante lang natin ngayon, yun naman mga specific program that will generate employment opportunities and will invite investment, both domestic and foreign. Sapagkat alam naman natin na ang government's capability to generate employment is also limited. We need the private sector to come in. And so we are hoping na yung programa, and I hope it can be reflected in the budget that will be submitted to Congress, kung ano ito mga specific na programs that will help generate employment opportunities.
So, based on what you said, I hope I hope I'm correct. You were mentioning that he'd not only run after the previous administration, but you're talking about all those.
All those who are corrupt. Yeah.
Do you see that possible? Do you see that happening?
I don't see any problem why.
Why it should not happen?
It should not happen. Ang perception ngayon is that the president's integrity is really intact. No? It's hindi questionably.
Okay.
So, malaki ang pag-asa namin na itong drive against corruption will be for, against everybody who are corrupt or who is corrupt.
How did you find the twist that the president adopted? Because at the beginning, he was being criticized for being personal daw ang paghahabol niya kay GMA. He was able to ride on that issue and say, it is really personal. Because lahat tayo na nanakawan, dapat we should take it personally. How did you find that twist?
That is a very strong message. And I think everybody should have that kind of attitude. Otherwise, we will not be able to clean up the government. So, we support that. Pero, it is not enough. Kailangan rin natin na magkaroon talagang improvement ang economy at we'll be able to reduce yung red tape in the government.
May tanong ko lang sa inyo. Graft and corruption kasama sa programa ni Presidente Pinoy. Yung punto po na lumalabas yung issue, 2004, yung nangyaring posibleng dayaan. Do you think the President should have mentioned these new revelations coming out regarding the possibility of alleged cheating sa presidential elections in 2004 in his zona or hindi na lang sana?
Well, I expected him to mention that because that 2004 election was very important.
Yes.
No? And yung those who are responsible for the fraud committed sa 2004 election should be put to jail. And I think that would have highlighted the campaign against corruption.
This would have strengthened his aura of integrity if he ran after people who cheated the will of the people.
Yes.
And you support that, no?
I support that.
So you think if you were in a position to advise him, you'd say, don't only run after the grafters, but run after the people who rob the people of their votes.
Because we can only improve, Eric, if we will be able to improve our political system. Election is, to me, is the core in democracy. And 2004 was the height of corruption in our electoral process.
May mga taong nagsasabi, like for example, Chairman Brillante said, nung tinanong siya, ang totoong nanalo daw sa eleksyon na yun, si Fernando Po Jr. Sa palagay po ninyo, sino po talagang nanalo doon sa eleksyon na yun?
Well, I might be biased because at the time I was supporting Fernando Po.
Okay.
I think he won the election
Aha.
of 2004.
Okay. Well, I hope the president is listening because there is definitely a direct link between corruption, financial corruption, and the corruption of the elections.
Yes.
Diba? Mas importante yung...
That's the worst.
If you corrupt the elections,
Oh yes, that's the worst.
madali
kind
na
of
yung corrupting the finances of the country.
Yes.
What else were you able to get out of the zona of the president?
Well, ang nakita ko rin diyan is yung the appeal ng presidente na siguro naman we should also recognize and acknowledge yung people in the government who are doing good. And sabi niya magpasalamat tayo to these people. And I think that's correct. Because yun ang kulang natin.
Pinasalamatan niya rin yung Kongreso.
Yes, pasalamatan ng Kongreso, pasalamatan yung nagawa ng maayos diyan sa barangay. And I think that is very inspiring.
There is an observation that he was not actually talking to Congress or the Senate in joint session, but talking directly straight to the man on the street.
Yes, in fact, that is, I think, one of the reasons why ang ginamit niya lingwahe yung Filipino. Because it was an address to the Filipino people.
And do you think there was a touch of youth to his speech because coming from a generation at his age, he was adopting language which was of pop culture, so to speak?
Yes. In fact, he was very effective in his, in his speech because he was really effectively communicating to the people, and especially the pop culture.
How about other views that says the president should have put a direction as to how to be able to get these objectives that he wanted to push through?
Well, as I have said, Cedric, this is just the first year. Tayong lahat were asking, ano ba ang roadmap natin? No?
Yes.
Because 5 years is 5 years. But kung ang presidente walang direction, 5 years is too long. Pero ako naman, gusto kong makita talaga yung roadmap natin, kung mabasa natin yan sa budget niya. Because if you would like to know what's the future of this country, at least
it's in the budget.
It's in the budget.
Yes.
That's why I would like to read the budget.
And
Now,
he made mention of that.
Yes, he made mention of that.
If you want the specifics, nandun sa budget. Yes.
Tingnan natin kung tama ba ang direction. Of course, we have also to understand na not everything you can put there in the budget. After all, ay tayo, ang budget natin is annual every year. So, kailangan natin, at least meron tayong makita natin ang direksyon. In this budget now, makita natin kung ano ang direksyon. I'm sorry, I have not yet read the budget, but I really would like to get hold a copy of that budget. I have also a personal interest in this.
Yes.
Other than makita natin kung ano yung mga programa ng gobyerno. I had been a chairman for 5 years of the Committee on Finance of the Senate.
Yan ang gusto
and
kong
that's
madinig.
what I would like.
Yes. Maintindihan niyo yun.
Maintindihan natin. At kung makita natin kulang, we'll get the President.
Correct.
After all, sinabi ni Presidente, kayo ang mga boss ko . And we have to tell the President, we would like to help the President, but we should not hesitate to fiscalize also the administration.
There are audible voices also that observe. This has always been an argument that has been used, as a litany or as a self-flagellating argument, saying that, statistics were cited, positive statistics of growth, etc., etc. But to the ordinary man, and I think you know where I'm going, to the ordinary man, they do not feel it because tumataas ang presyo ng ganito, walang bubungan, walang ganito. These are the usual, and in short, the ordinary man doesn't feel it. What do you say to that?
Well, tama yun, sapagkat ang ordinary citizen, they are more concerned sa day-to-day living nila.
Yes.
But on the other hand, tayo nga nakaintindi, malaman rin natin kung mayroon ba tayong future based on the programs of the government and the behavior of our people. Because importante dito that the President will have the support of the people. And the people will never support a President na walang direksyon. That is why it's very important na the President should have a direction. Makita natin at yung tinatawag natin roadmap at sinasabi na nun sa budget. Tingnan natin yung budget.
Well, if you were going to be asked, Senator Herrera, sabihin sa iyo, ano pang area sana ang dapat nabigyan ng emphasis ni Pangulong Pinoy?
Well, he identified already the areas, no, some of these areas. One is kailangan mawala yung kalukuhan, yung corruption in the government.
Yung wang-wang mentality.
Yung wing-wang-wang mentality. I think that's very important. The other is, tingnan naman natin ano na ba ang ating first direction natin. Siguro yung education program natin. Siguro dagdagan yun ng budget at kailangan masulbar natin yung problema ng mga classrooms, yung problema natin sa mga teachers, problema natin sa mga aklat, books para sa ating mga estudyante. Then yung kailangan natin yun sa skills training natin. Sapagkat itong skills training natin, and I would like to be very specific in the case of TISDA. According to TISDA's record, is that 25% of their graduates nakakita ng trabaho. Either they were
Locally
able to get
or abroad?
employment, or abroad, or mayroon silang self-employment. Kung ganun yan, bakit naman maliit ang budget sa TISDA? Siguro dagdagan natin ang budget ng TISDA.
Correct.
I don't think it is a reason nga because of the corruption in the past years, huwag naman natin bigyan ng budget ang TISDA or malaking budget ang
But
TISDA.
you're under a new government.
Precisely.
Okay.
And not only that, the leadership there in TISDA
Is new also.
New leadership.
Yes.
But then at the same time, nakita natin maraming walang trabaho. At karamihan sa mga walang trabaho, walang skills. So let's invest in that. That is why in our talk with the President, if I'm not mistaken, it was May 16, we emphasized that. Na kailangan natin, na we should invest in this. Because kung tingnan mo, yung sinasabing wala tayong employment program. You know, the TISDA is the closest to employment program.
Yes. It's a training program.
And there is result. 25%. So malaki eh. So, I said, lagyan natin ng budget yun. At siguro importante dyan, yung partner ng TISDA to implement the programs. Huwag na natin ibigay ito sa mga politiko.
Okay. Currently ba, mga politiko ba ngayon ang may hawak?
Mayroong mga balita nga hindi maganda.
Okay.
Ina-portion sa mga members of Congress. Not siguro all, but some. But what is important here is that kailangan mo nga this should be implemented in a very honest way. At klaro ang programa. Ako, I have confidence in the leadership of TISDA. But kung mayroon mang ganitong nangyari, it's about time that they should re-examine yung kanilang programa.
Nakakatulong ba yung mga ginagawa ng TESDA na minsan ang local governments ang partner nila sa mga ganitong skills training? Or
okay lang
problematic?
Okay lang siguro yung local government because mayroon naman tayong yung tinatawag natin yung piso. No? Programa, mayroon tayong employment officers in every local government. Pero kailangan siguro tingnan kung talagang may kapabilidad ba to conduct the program. Sapagkat kung ipambigay mo lang ito, gagamitin lang ito para pamulitika. And that's why I would like to appeal to the Director General of TISDA. Please re-examine yung programa ninyo. Get the real partners in implementing the program because we have only 5 years.
Okay. We're going to pause for a few reminders. And Senator, you mentioned a very important point. What would be your suggestion, just in case the Director General of TESDA was listening, what would be your suggestion in order to get a strategic and reliable partner when Republika returns? Nagbabalik po tayo sa Republika. I'm Erik Espina. We're still talking to Senator Ernesto Boy Herrera. Senador, kung kayo ang tatanungin, ano ang magandang paraan upang magkaroon ng talagang strategic, reliable partner ng TESDA upang mapalawig at mapalakas yung skills training ng ating mga Pilipino para magkaroon ng sense of importance and empowerment yung ating mga tao na para bang may kakayahan sila na mismo ang kikita ng kanilang pera?
Well, the first thing that TISDA should do is, of course, review nila yung mga programa nila and you evaluate yung kanila mga partners before. And siguro nila na itong mga activities ng mga partners nila talaga nakafocus. Pag ibigay mo yun sa ibang tao, ng politiko, ay wala yun. Hindi yun nakafocus sa skills training. Hindi nila intindihan yun.
Sabi ni Pino, malulusaw lang daw. Okay.
So, ang importante dyan, you evaluate the institution. Makita mo naman ang record. And we are very proud to tell you, Eric, that our workers' college, ang aming rating is about 65% of our graduates nakakita ng trabaho. Maybe because we have so many collective bargaining agreements, so napasok namin yung iba. But the point is that we are really serious in our training program. So, kailangan siguro ng TISDA na tingnan nila kung sino talaga yung mga strategic partners. And then, they have to consider saan bang ibigay natin ang emphasis ng training. Maybe we should do it in regions or provinces na talaga, which are very poor.
Yes.
No, in order to provide hope to the people there, especially yung mga estudyante, na magkaroon sila ng chance to be employed, to be in the mainstream of our economy. Now, the other tingnan natin, ano bang mga klaseng training
ang
i-offer natin? Sapagkat kung ang ating skills na i-offer natin will command low salaries, especially overseas, then it's useless.
Yes.
I'll just give you a specific example. Tayo, I think we supply about 32% ng mga seafarers sa international maritime industry.
Yes.
We must have about 250 to 300,000 seafarers. India has only about 70,000 seafarers. But you know, the remittance ng kanila mga seafarers,
mas malaki pa sa atin.
Mas malaki sa atin.
Why is that, Senator?
Because they are occupying high positions.
I see.
Yeah. Siguro tingnan natin yung ating training sa ating mga seafarers.
For higher skills, no?
For higher skill and yung motivation, especially in leadership function. Siguro will encourage them to aspire for the highest position in any shipping lines. No? Sapagkat, then you command a better price. Now, the other thing is that yung kung ang skills mo, like you are a welder, good welder, yung skills mo is your protection. You will not be exploited. Hindi ka iabuso ng mga employer mo. That should be our direction ng ating TISDA.
Pareho tayong probinsyano, Senador, no? Okay ba kayo kung maglagay ang TESDA ng dapat meron silang mga extension offices or schools sa Visayas at sa Mindanao?
They have regional offices.
Meron sila.
And then many of the provinces.
Pero pwede bang palakihin yun?
Yeah.
Dapat palakihin, ano?
That's it. Palakihin mo and kailangan yan additional budget sa TISDA. I feel nga itong projects sa DSW, no? Yung DSWD, yung CCT.
Conditional
cash transfer.
Yes.
Importante 'yon. I do not want to minimize its importance.
Yes.
But siguro ang TISDA should be given an equivalent budget or TISDA should have more budget because ito skills ang binigay mo sa mga recipients mo ng support.
This is the conflict between just giving fish as against giving them a fish rod.
Yes.
Oo.
Yes.
So saan mas importante, yung fish rod or just giving them fish?
Yeah, that's it. As I said, this is the closest to employment program.
Correct. And you give them self-respect.
Yes.
Kasi may alam na sila eh.
Yes. And then kung mayroon kang sariling income mo, hindi dole out. Ang mangyari dyan, you have self-confidence.
Will that happen,
dignity
Senator?
mo.
Is somebody listening, let's say in the government, that realizes the importance of skills training vis-a-vis just simply giving them money and isang gastusan, dalawang gastusan, ubos na?
Yeah. Well, as I said, I do not want to minimize the importance of that. No? Because yun talagang mahirap. Kailangan naman talagang support. Pero the bigger emphasis should be sa skills training.
Yes, because hindi pwedeng nakawin na yun sa kanila.
Yes. Yes. At,
pero naintindihan ba nila? Sana naman naintindihan nila.
Siguro naman naintindihan. Pero ang importante lang, nga, yung, ano ba yun? Tuwid nga daan.
Tuwid na daan, yes.
Yun ang importante siguro. Mas matuwid siguro ito kung dito sa skills training.
Yes. You're investing for the future. Right?
Yes. And when you invest in one member of the family,
for the future.
For the future, you are really helping the entire family.
Correct. And it's not just an investment for 1 day, 2 days convenience.
Yes, yes. And then you develop his self-dignity.
Correct.
no?
Oo.
Yung self-respect niya. that
Pinakain
he
mo
is
sarili
earning.
mong pamilya mo,
yes.
yes. Oo.
And to me,
The
that should be
dignity of
given,
labor, yes.
that should be given preference.
Oo.
You know? In fact,
Hindi pa masyado malaki ang budget ng ng DSWD for yung sa
you're
conditional cash
talking,
transfer?
you're talking of 21 billion.
Oh.
And now they would like to increase that. I was hoping that ang discussion sana is how to increase and how much for TISDA.
TESDA, yes.
Yes, that should be ang
Magkano
emphasis
dapat
ng
siguro? Kahit initially, dapat magkano ibigay sa TESDA?
should be higher than yung sa conditional cash transfer.
Aha.
Or at least at par.
Aha. I think that's a very good suggestion.
Yeah.
If I hope the president is listening or his people are, because it makes a lot of sense.
Oh yes, in fact I don't understand why why you have to wait to be told
Okay.
na i-increase mo yan. It's common sense.
But you're also a political animal, Senator. Why do you think yung conditional cash transfer is being preferred?
Well, ang problema dyan,
Okay.
with that, it will create malicious perception.
Okay.
Isa dyan is, baka naman ito, early politicking ito.
Okay.
Yung,
Not for the president anymore, but for some
you know,
people.
para bang you're buying votes.
Okay.
Oh.
Oo.
Ay, mali yun eh.
Oo.
Mali yun. As I said, we have to help the poor. I said, I do not want to underestimate the importance
Yes.
of that.
Yes.
But at the same time,
Yes.
ay, yung importante, yung skills training. Yun ang bigyan natin ng more support. And probably, those poor families na yung recipients ng ating conditional cash transfer, eh siguro they should be
They
also
should be trained.
Yes.
That's correct. Makes
That
sense.
should be.
Oo.
Oh.
After siguro the first na ibigay sa'yo,
Yes.
next is skills training ka na.
Yes. We'll give you first for your food.
Yes.
But now,
Oo. You have
a
to
year
work.
from now, you have to start
work.
learning
Yes.
and, earn a living.
Yes.
Sapagkat it is very expensive to maintain non-productive people.
And you encourage them to be even
Yes.
to just be recipients and
Yes.
and to always count
and-
on Big Brother.
And in some countries, practicing that conditional cash transfer, ang experience nila is very bad. In fact, I'm waiting for the final report ng ating some members of Congress went to Mexico. And they were given a report which is very, very bad about this.
Yung basta
the
bigay lang ng
experience.
bigay.
And now they have a problem how to maintain that. Because once you stop it, people also will be angry.
Correct. Oo. Oo. You have opened their eyes.
Yes.
You've allowed them to taste
Yes.
something.
yes.
Now you're going to deprive them of it.
Yes. And these people will say, look, bakit hindi nyo kami bigyan? Kayo magnanakaw kayo sa gobyerno.
And the worst
Yun
part,
ang
I think,
mga-
Senator, is programs like this usually do not end up being cut. They usually end up becoming bigger and bigger.
That is the experience of Mexico, I understand.
Yes.
And that is why many of their political leaders are now complaining. So I told one of the congressmen who was there to furnish me an official report of that.
There is something Churchillian here to what Senator Herrera is saying, which is what Winston Churchill said is, look at the point because the point is looking at you.
Yeah.
May basahin ng usapan,
Oh.
Senador. Itong problema natin ng Saudization, how do you see this? Do you think we should have seen this a long time ago before it happened?
Well, we
Not
should
just
have-
for Saudi, but all over the world.
all
for
over
that
the
matter,
world.
yes.
Because normal yun eh.
Oh, yes.
You give priority to your own people.
Actually, nationalization of
Oh,
the
yes.
labor force. no?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Oo.
Ganun yun eh. So we should have foresaid that.
Yes.
And then, siguro, mayroon naman mga skills na kulang sila. You focus on the development of that skills. No? Pero, that's bad for the Philippines because marami ng mga manggagawa natin. I think it's over 1 million who are working in Saudi Arabia.
Okay. And do you see this happening all over the Middle East? Or Saudi is just the start of it?
Well, Saudi is starting it.
Okay.
Others will follow later. Normal yun eh.
Okay.
Expected yun.
Ano ang taning ng ating employment generation sa Middle East kung if Saudi is going to start it and the other countries will start following?
Karoon tayo ng problema.
Okay.
Because the problem is how to reintegrate ito mga workers natin in the Middle East when they come back.
And at the
That
same
is a serious
and at
problem.
the same amount that they are the same salary levels that they receive.
They may understand that they will not get the same salary.
Levels, yes.
But the point is how to integrate them in our economy. Yan, malaking problema natin yan. Now,
Well, one of the ways is again retooling them for skills training.
precisely.
Or what other suggestions do you have?
And saying to it
Okay.
that we will be able to encourage both domestic and foreign investments in our country. Sapagkat ngayon, ay siguro ang natalo lang natin in terms of foreign investment, yun lang Laos. Lahat, they get more than the Philippines. That's very serious.
There were talks, Senator Juan Ponce really was talking about charter change in terms of changing the constitutional requirement for foreign investments coming into the Philippines and owning local companies. What do you think of that?
Well, I am for it.
Okay.
I am for it.
Okay.
I think it's about time that
We open up.
we open up. After all, magbilis lang ng lupa dito. They cannot bring this land
Okay.
if they would like to go back to their countries.
Okay.
But ipa-develop natin.
Okay.
Uh,
But do you think this is possible within the next 5 years? Where do you see Congress and the Senate adopting economic amendments to?
Well, what is important is...
And for that matter,
there
will the President open up the Constitution?
precisely, because the most important here is the position of the President.
Yes.
Whether we like it or not, the President has a very strong influence diyan sa House of Representatives.
And and could it be that his attachment to this Constitution is also personal and emotional because it was during the time of his late mother? Yes.
Yeah. But I think he should. But he should be above that. No?
Yes.
And I think the President, it's just a question of siguro advising the President. As long as you can convince him, I think he will go out for the amendments of the Constitution. Although, as I said, when you open up the amendments, madugo yun. No? Pero specific provisions lang, as envisioned by GNN really. I think that's good. Kailangan talaga natin na i-open up natin yung ating economy.
In terms of the SONA, what kind of investment climate do you see? What kind of employment generation do we see in the future?
Well, ang problema natin dito, Eric, because ang mga karamihan ng mga foreign investors are worried on the yun bang how we play the game.
Pabago-bago.
Pabago-bago. And sometimes also the judiciary is involved there. What has been approved by the executive, minsan considered ng pag doon na sa judiciary unconstitutional. Nangyari several times. So yun ang worry ng investors. You put in billions and then later you have a problem whether this will be sustained. At yun, problema natin sa Fraport, problema natin yung sa yung dredging. You know, this send wrong signal to some investors.
Running after corruption is a good thing, but what do
yes.
you do after?
Well,
How do you fix the house, in short?
Well, running after corruption
It's just
should
the first
be
step.
complemented
Yes.
with some policies that would welcome investments, good investments. No? And probably one of the things that we should do is amend the provision of the Constitution, which restrict the ownership of you know, the foreign investors, no, to own lands in the country.
How did you take the statement of the President and the camera also sometimes focused on the People's Republic of Chinese ambassador when he said, yung sa Pilipinas, How did you see that, those statements?
Well, on matters of foreign policy, I think all of us should support the President.
Yes.
We
We
might
should
have
rally
some
around.
reservations.
We should
We
rally
might
around.
have some reservations. But I think it is wise to support the President.
We should rally around the flag
Oh,
of the
yes,
President.
yes. I have some reservations, but
Okay.
we have to support the President.
In terms of the labor climate under these administrations, how is it?
Well-
you're with the TUCP.
Very few strikes.
Okay.
We have just formalized the organization of the new tripartite industrial peace council, and there is coordination with Malacanang and the TIPC, and I am very proud to tell you that those who are members of the TIPC, the labor leaders, and also the employers, are really committed to see to it that we'll be able to develop a very harmonious labor management relations in order that we'll be able to encourage investors.
To what do you attribute this new, this new atmosphere where there are lesser strikes?
Well, for one,
What is happening?
well, for one, it's difficult to find jobs.
Okay.
So workers are very practical. Some trade unions are very practical.
Okay.
Let us not rock the boat.
Okay.
May trabaho tayo ngayon. Kung mayroon mang problema, let's sit down and discuss how to address this problem. Yun ang nangyari. And yung mga kaliwa.
I was about to say agitators.
Yeah, yung mga agitators naman. I don't think they have the support of the people now. I mean, mga tao ngayon ay gusto nga meron tahimik and there is harmony. Ayaw na nila yung gulo. Sapagkat nakita natin the past years na yung maraming gulo, marami rin mga investors na wala sa ating bansa. There was a time that about 350 companies in Maribilis stopped their operation or transferred to other places because of the gulo. We should not allow it to happen again.
The President mentioned towards the end of his speech about a law based on the kasambahays. What do you think of the passage of a law on kasambahays where there would be some kind of a open-close quotation mark minimum wage to protect them?
Well, ito malaking problema yun.
Yes. Kasi it cuts both ways.
Oh, yes.
Pwedeng mag-alis, mawala ng mga trabaho sila, no?
Yes.
Oo.
And alam mo naman niyo sa probinsya,
Yes.
minsan you hire yung mga helpers mo,
Oo.
mga anak ito ng kamag-anak mo,
Yes,
and then
oo.
you send them to school, give them allowance.
Iba ang relasyon eh. It's not an
Iba.
employer-employee relation eh.
Iba ang
Correct.
relasyon. They are really members of the family.
Yes.
Yun ang mangyari.
Oo.
Of course, dito siguro sa mga affluent subdivisions,
Aha.
pwede yun.
Okay.
Strictly employer-employee relationship.
Aha. But how do you draw the line in the law?
It's difficult yun.
Kasi when you define it,
Yes.
especially when those that author it are very interested in the popular vote.
Yun ang problema sa atin.
I mean,
yun talaga ang problema.
Those that want to be protected are not asking actually for so much protection. So, baka mawalan pa sila ng trabaho, no?
But it's good nga, nandoon na yung batas. No?
More or less,
And the employer should discuss this with the employee niya. Anong gawin nila based on that? Because maraming employer cannot afford what the law requires.
Don't you think there should be some fire exit provision in the law that would require, that would allow the employer and the employee to say, siguro ganito na lang ma'am, basta okay sa akin, ganito ang sweldo ko at ito mga benepisyo.
But in reality, ganun naman talaga yun.
Yes, oo.
Kung tingnan mo yung mga industries natin, especially the small skills and medium skills,
Yes.
marami yan nag-violate sa mga labor standard.
Yes.
But the workers are not complaining because alam nila, nahirap rin ang employer nila.
Yes.
And that is why I've been saying, alam mo, you do not worry about the trade union, the legitimate trade unions in the country.
Yes. Oo.
Because they understand the situation of the country. They will not. They just allow it. Because alam nila nga kung ipuwersa mo yun, ang mangyari, they will lose their jobs.
But
And that is also true.
will TUCP come out with some position paper based on this kasambahay law, or you're still studying the matter?
No, ang nangyari dyan is that we are supporting that. I mean,
Okay.
just to establish a standard.
Oh, okay.
But
But you will
we
go
are-
into
but-
the details.
Yun na naman detalye.
Yan ang
We do not want our people to lose jobs. Now, you sit down with your employer. Yun ang mangyari dyan.
Kailangan malinaw, no, from the very
Malinaw, this was started by the late Neptali Gonzales. He was the author, the first mayroong minimum wage.
And then it was revived.
Ngayon.
Yes.
But at that time, mayroong classification.
Yes. Ito ba, parang walang classification na ito? Parang lahat na lang ng kasambahay, pare-pareho yata eh.
Lahat ng, mayroong classification, but yung rights nila on certain requirements, pareho.
And then for those who are listening, Senador, dun sa mga, yung contractualization na nangyayari pa rin yun, ano?
Oh yes, and, karamihan dyan is a violation ng batas.
Okay.
Yung labor-only contracting.
Oo.
Mali naman talaga yun nga yung mga employer, papirmahin lang yung mga manggagawa, although they are performing functions directly connected with the business of the company. Like for instance, yung sales girl ka, trabaho ka sa department store. So, as a sales girl, that's directly connected with the business of the company.
Okay.
Papirmahin nila ng 5 months or 4 months, dismiss nila, and then few months later, i-recall nila.
Anong mapapayo mo? Let's say, I was hired by this agency, tapos yung agency ang may kontrata sa isang department store.
Well, yung employer mo is really the agency.
Okay.
Mangyari dyan.
Okay.
Pero ang nagawa dito is that after 5 months, dismiss ka sa trabaho mo.
Yes.
This is parang economic coercion ang ginawa sa iyo. You don't complain because takot ka nga hindi ka rin recall later. Yun ang nga. But that is against the law. Yun ang sinasabi ng labor-only contracting.
Pwede yung mga tao na ito gumawa ng CBA sa agency?
Yes. They can organize and become a member of the union and then enter into contract with their agency. Alam niyo, ang purpose dito ng mga employer ginawa nila ito. Because by batas, that nag-require nga after working for 6 months, automatic ka maging regular.
Malinaw,
so,
automatic ha?
Automatic.
Hindi kailangan merong order.
Hindi kailangan.
Okay.
And then, even in naputol-putol yung trabaho mo in 1 year, abot ng 6 months, automatic ka rin. So, yun ang ina-avoid ng company.
Pero bakit po nakakalusot yan?
Well, being tolerated also.
Tapos mabibigat yung mga kalaban?
Well, mayroong mga cases, talo yung mga employer. Maraming cases on that. Pero, kailangan siguro that an agency of the government, I'm referring to the Department of Labor, should be vigilant in protecting the interests of workers.
Ang nangyayari ba, naghihintay na lang sila?
Well,
they don't go into investigating the...
Ang problema rin natin, kaunti lang ang labor inspectors natin.
Okay.
The last time I know, there are only about 250. And then you have almost 1 million firm nag-operate. So, kaunti lang talaga ang inspectorate natin.
But I don't want to say this, but I think it's public knowledge that many of the major department stores are the major violators of these laws.
Isa naman sa department store diyan, ginawa nila, mag-hire lang sila yung members lang of one religious organization.
Para hindi mag-strike?
Parang hindi mag-join ng union.
Okay.
Yan ang ginawa nila.
Pero nagiging permanente ba sila sa department store? Hindi rin.
Hindi rin.
Puro lang basta revolving door yan.
Yes. And the number one culprit of this is the unemployment problem. Takot yung mga manggagawa, hindi na makakita ng trabaho, they do not want to fight or to protect, to assert their right. Sapagkat hirap ang employment.
Is there any ratio, Senator, that you can cite, more or less, just randomly? Sa isang taong nawawalan ng trabaho, there are siguro 15, 20 people ready to take their jobs.
Could be.
Could
Even
there
more
be?
than that.
Maybe more
Even
than
more than that. Because yung sinasabi natin nga, ang ating employment rate is only about 7.2%. Remember, ngayon definition natin sa employment, na kasama na doon yung unemployed ka pero hindi ka naghanap ng trabaho, hindi ka i-consider nga unemployed. Hindi ka isama sa tinawag nating unemployed.
Kasi nakatrabaho ka?
Hindi. You're not looking for job, although wala kang trabaho.
Okay. Meron din na staggered yung employment mo?
Well, ganon. They are the underemployed.
Okay.
So, part sila sa underemployed. Pero yung wala kang trabaho, pero hindi ka naghanap ng trabaho, you will not be counted among those who are unemployed.
Okay. Final word, Senator. You're optimistic for this administration, the coming next year, next 2 years?
I am, maybe because I am also a very optimistic person.
Okay.
I am optimistic about the administration.
Okay. Well, on that final word, we'd like to thank Senator Ernesto Herrera. It's a rare occasion. We want to hear his voice. We want to get what are his thoughts, and we were able to get a snippet the past hour. It's been a pleasure, Senator.
Thank you.
Please stay healthy. We need more people like you in government, and we need your voices, especially the new generation. This has been Erik Espina, always reminding you, magmasid, makialam, higit sa lahat, manindigan, sapagkat wala pong magmamahal sa Pilipino kung hindi ang Pilipino. Daghang salamat, maayong gabi kaninyong tanan.
We advise the opinions and views of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of